Hello everybody, this is Kirby over yonder, and Kid Cosmic is so freaking good, you guys. Created by Craig McCracken and lasting for 3 seasons from February of 2021 to February of 2022, Kid Cosmic is just delightful. It does such an excellent job subverting tropes associated with the superhero genre, while at the same time definitely having its own identity. The characters are all really likable and have a lot of depth. The art and animation is gorgeous. And the show goes in places you really wouldn't expect it to. And it's also only 24 episodes long, meaning the story isn't unnecessarily dragged out. It also makes the show pretty easy to rank. I mean, I ranked every episode of Wander Over Yonder a couple months back, and that show has more than triple the amount of episodes as Kid Cosmic. So that's what I'm gonna do. This is every episode of Kid Cosmic ranked. Oh, and in case you're wondering, yes, there will be spoilers here. Number 24, The Precognitive Cat. I consider pretty much every Kid Cosmic episode to be at the very least good, so this episode being in last place says a lot more about the quality of the show as a whole than about this specific episode. As far as why the episode is so low, I find it to be a little too slow and repetitive for my liking. Tuna's vision gets kinda tiring to see over and over again, and the desert scenery isn't really all that interesting in my opinion. However, the episode definitely picks up once the crew gets to the ship itself. And it also deserves credit for establishing Tuna, who, once he gains the ability to talk, becomes one of my favorite characters actually. The flashback of when he first met Kid is just adorable, and easily the highlight of the episode. Man, you know a show is good when even the worst episode has a good amount of things I like about it. Number 23, The Soul-Crushing Loss. This is a mostly really good episode that would be a lot higher on this list if it didn't make one decision I wasn't a fan of. I'll talk about the stuff I like first, though. Joe telling Kid he sucks has a lot of emotional weight to it and was really well handled. Kid's whole subplot in which he goes through the 5 stages of grief is really funny and very reminiscent of the SpongeBob movie. And the main plot has some really strong action. And I do like that Joe's plan goes wrong, forcing her to reevaluate what makes a good leader, but here's where we get into the thing I don't like about this episode. Crush betraying Joe was not necessary, at all. They kill her off like a minute later, so it kind of feels like they only did this so we wouldn't feel as bad when she died. It's a shame too, because up until this point I was really liking Crush as a character, and I was disappointed to see the show go back on her character development like that. But again, this is still a really good episode. It just made one poor decision, putting it at almost the bottom of the list. Number 22, The Best Day Ever. A really solid start to the 3rd and final season. It's fun to watch the team finally get to use their powers together, and it does a good job foreshadowing the twist in the following episode. The main thing holding it back though is once you go back to the episode knowing the twist, it kinda loses most of its tension, since you know that there was no way that Kid and the gang would have lost these fights. It's still a fun episode regardless, just a little more enjoyable upon first viewing. Number 21, The Rings of Power, the pilot episode. I think it does a great job establishing the bond between Kid and Joe, as well as what having these powers means for the two of them. I love all the chicanery going around with Kid and Joe messing with their powers. It's definitely not as exciting as some of the later episodes, but hey, it's the pilot. Every show needs to start somewhere. Number 20, La Nina Gigantica, the 2nd episode. This is the episode where Rosa and Papa G become part of the team, which is cool. I love seeing Rosa use her powers to beat the ever-loving crap out of Chuck and his clones. It's also really funny how Kid is just having none of Rosa's crap. I think we can all agree that they are the siblings ever. Number 19, The Bad Good Guys, not to be confused with the Wander Over Yonder episode, The Good Bad Guy. It's great to see the characters fully embrace being a part of a team. Their new costumes are really cute. I've always found this scene here to be really charming. Just a really sweet moment between Kid and Papa G in an otherwise really tense episode. Number 18, The Feeble Fighter, the turning point in Season 2. It's very interesting to see the team begin to disobey Joe's leadership, focusing more on helping others than defeating Erodius. And the tiny people are also really fun characters with very cute designs. And despite the fact that I don't really like what they did with Crush in the following episode, it's still fun to see her train with the rest of the crew. Number 17, The Big Win, an episode that basically changed everything for the show. I think it was a very smart decision to have the crew reveal their powers this early on, as it allows the supporting cast to be a part of the actual story, as opposed to just being background characters. Flo in particular really gets her chance to shine in Season 2. I really like the visuals in this episode when the restaurant is all boarded up, it's really cool. And in addition to that, all of the robot dog stuff is just really fun. Number 16, The Little Spark. Finally another Season 3 episode, right? I really admire the decision to have one of the final episodes focused on Rosa, as she goes pretty underutilized all things considered. Her putting on kids' belt and earmuffs might be the single most adorable thing ever. It's also cool to see the little people from Season 2 come back and try to help the team. I'm glad the show didn't just forget about them. Also, Papa G's story of how he found his lucky charm is hilarious and made even better by the fact that it's actually plot relevant. Number 15, Earth Force Enforcement Force. What a title. This is a really funny parody of Power Rangers and shows of its nature. But despite being a parody, the action here is genuinely really good. And the twist that the alien invaders aren't actually evil and just trying to reclaim the last pieces of their home planet is just another really great subversion. And it allows Kid to reevaluate what it truly means to be a hero. Number 14, The Invaders from Earth, the Kid Cosmic episode without Kid Cosmic. As I stated earlier, Tuna Sandwich is one of my favorite characters, and this is the episode in which he gains the ability to talk. The voice they gave him is just so good. Also, he canonically swears, which is epic. But this is also the episode where Chuck becomes a part of the team, which is pretty cool. Seeing these two sneak around and try to recruit back all of the members of the team is really fun, and it shows that these characters are still entertaining even without the titular Kid. Number 13, The Other Stones of Power, an excellent start to the second season. Phantos is such a fun villain. He's just such a dork and a man-child that it's hard not to love him. I love the fact that Kid is just totally cool with being kidnapped by him. I love all of the banter between the two. The fight scene at the end is also really fun. It's cool to see some of the newer stones being used. Number 12, The Galactic Champion, the Battle Royale episode, if you will. This is a really fun action-heavy episode. It's cool seeing Joe have to fight off each of the team members. This gag with Tuna in particular always gets me. This episode also introduces Crush, a really cool character who, again, I wish the show didn't do dirty. Joe using the invincibility stone against her is also a pretty awesome moment. Number 11, The Fallen Hero, the turning point in Joe's character arc. This is the episode where Joe finally begins to see that her leadership methods were wrong. That image of her alone in the big empty desert really sticks out in my mind. Gives me a bit of a Scott Pilgrim vibe. But it's really satisfying to see Joe finally understand what it truly means to be a good leader. And seeing all these different alien species come and help save Flo's restaurant is just a really heartwarming moment. And I think it says a lot about Flo, that her restaurant just being there helped so many people. It's really powerful stuff. Number 10, The Secret of the 14th Stone. Yeah, despite being so short, most of Season 3 made it into the top 10. The first half of this episode is essentially just one big wild goose chase for the 14th Stone, and it's really fun. I love the creepy atmosphere in this scene in particular. But this episode really gets good when Jo goes off on her own to discover what's going on with this place. The twist that they were actually in a fake world this whole time is really cool. But the highlight of the episode is easily this big fight scene between Jo and Papa G. It's just so intense and really well staged. Also, between this, the Wander Over Yonder episode, and the Rick and Morty episode, this is like the third Voltron parody I've had to talk about in the span of the past few months. Granted, the Voltron stuff here isn't as prominent as those other two episodes. I just find it funny how I've probably seen more Voltron parodies than anything actually Voltron related. Number 9, The Pyramid Puzzle of Pain. I guess you could call this one a pyramid scheme. I'm a bit of a sucker for brain teasers, so this episode definitely appeals to me. It's cool how each of the rooms give you a little hint so that you could hypothetically figure out the puzzles before the characters do. It's also just really funny seeing the characters cheese their way past all of these puzzles. It's also a good message to take your time with things instead of rushing yourself through them just to get it done faster. Also, Tuna really said screw capitalism. How based of him. Number 8, The Day is Saved, the Season 1 finale. I think what I like most about this season finale is that it focuses more on Kid's growth as a character than just defeating the bad guy. That whole extended sequence of Kid learning telekinesis is really beautiful and shows just how much he's grown in the first 10 episodes. I love that he's not just automatically perfect at it yet, he still needs to work on it a little bit. And seeing the crew just befriend and hang out with all these aliens is a really nice and wholesome way to cap off the first season. Even if most of them tragically die soon after, but let's not worry about that. Number 7, the grand opening of Planet Earth, the series finale. Compared to most other episodes, the finale of Kid Cosmic is relatively mundane, but I like it. Kid Cosmic is a bit like BoJack in the sense that the penultimate episode is the big climax the series has been building to. And the actual finale is just a nice little epilogue episode to see where these characters' lives are now. But I really like this approach to a finale, as it allows us to just hang out with the characters one last time without any major stakes. I gotta say, I do kind of feel bad for Kid in this episode. He's probably gone through a lot of trauma, what with the whole fake Earth scenario. Allowing all the aliens to visit Mo's Oasis is a very fitting way to end the series, very reminiscent of the Season 1 finale. It's just a really nice way to end this excellent series. Number 6, The Epic Fail, a Kid solo episode. Seeing Kid go off on his own to try and defeat Chuck and his army provides for a lot of dramatic tension. A lot of his arc in Season 1 is him feeling inferior to the rest of the team, and you can really feel his pain here. Kid using all the stones at once provides for some really solid action, and it's also used well for comedy. This is also the episode in which we learn about what happened to Kid's parents, which makes his character all the more tragic. It's just a really strong episode that excels in both its action and its drama. Number 5, The Global Conspiracy. Speaking of drama involving Kid's parents, this episode also has some really strong tension as we and Papa G know the truth behind this place, but Kid doesn't. So seeing Kid try to uncover the quote-unquote conspiracy is great use of dramatic irony. You understand where Papa G is coming from, but also know that not telling Kid the truth will cause him more pain in the long run. This episode also has a subplot in which Joe and the rest of the gang try to figure a way out of this fake world. It's fun and does a good job lightening the mood. But the highlight of this episode is easily Kid meeting his fake parents. It just feels so realistic that meeting fake versions of his parents wouldn't make Kid feel anything. He's not even upset, just pure apathy. You gotta love Papa G calling them out on their BS. It's a great episode and a great way to cap off the Fake Earth trilogy of episodes. Number 4, The World is Saved, the Season 2 finale. This is a really great action-heavy finale to the second season. It's really fun seeing all the characters use a bunch of different rings to defeat Erodius. It's cool whenever characters get to use different powers than what we're used to. I also love the payoff for the goo ability here. It's great whenever a running gag becomes plot relevant. This episode also introduces us to the PPG. It's great whenever a creator can reference their previous work without it taking over the entire show. Looking at you, Milo Murphy's Law. It's admittedly a little awkward going back to this one after knowing that about half of it takes place in a fake reality, but I think that also provides a little bit of drama going back to this episode, as we, the audience, know that Erodius is still out there, but the characters don't. The episode also does a good job foreshadowing the twist when Phantos tells Joe that she's living in a fantasy world. I guess he meant that a little more literally than we thought. It's an excellent season finale as a whole. Number 3, The Local Heroes, my favorite episode of Season 1. This is essentially just one big mockumentary episode, and it's really fun. A really fast-paced series of vignettes, providing us with some of the best jokes the series has to offer, while at the same time also doing a good job establishing Kid's inferiority complex. The episode ends off on a very haunting note. Despite being one of my favorites, I surprisingly don't have a ton to say about this episode. It's just really fun and worth a watch. Number 2, The Heist of Fire and Ice, my favorite Season 2 episode. Admittedly, a part of why I love this episode so much is because of its visuals. All of the characters' new outfits look great on them, especially Joe. And the whole fancy party setting is really cool and feels very unique to this episode. The heist itself is really fun, and I'm glad it doesn't take up the whole episode. And it's great to see these characters just kinda goof off at this fancy party. But the episode really picks up once Phantos shows up, as we get our first real look at Herodias and what it can do. The look on Joe's face here really says it all. It's a fantastic episode and very much worthy of being my second favorite. And my number 1 favorite Kid Cosmic episode is The Planet Killer. This is the penultimate episode of Kid Cosmic, and as I said before, the big climax to the series. And I think just about everything I love about the show is in this episode. Once again, there's great action here. Phantos is at his most threatening. The stakes are at their highest. In the reveal of the 14th stone and what it means for both Herodias and Papa G is just awesome. But this episode also has probably my 2 favorite scenes in the entire series. The first is this absolutely beautiful flashback sequence with Kid and Papa G. It's done with almost no dialogue, and it really shows just how important Kid and Papa G are to each other. And the song, man, the song is just so good. It legit got me to tear up the first time I saw it. And the second scene is Papa G sacrificing his stone. The animation, the character acting, the music, it all just goes so hard, and it also made me tear up. This episode made me cry twice, that's how good it is. This episode really just is perfect, and I think everyone deserves to watch it. If you haven't seen this episode, or Kid Cosmic as a whole, then you're really doing yourself a disfavor. It's an absolute masterpiece, and undoubtedly my favorite Kid Cosmic episode. And that was my Kid Cosmic ranking. Please let me know what your favorite episodes are, as well as what you think about my list, in the comments. Also, I turn 19 the day after I post this, so everyone please wish me a happy birthday.